I think it was a miracle that Donald Trump was not struck.
Donald Trump was survived by a miracle.
Nothing short of a miracle.
There was a miracle that happened, a big miracle. And Mr. Trump knows it, and his followers know it, and people all around him know that there was a miracle.
Hey, have you heard? Donald Trump was nearly assassinated. And if he hadn't turned his head at just the right second, the assassin's bullet obviously would have taken his life. And many Christians claim this was nothing short of a miracle, and not to be a party pooper. While it was indeed astounding, the bullet missed his head. It wasn't a miracle. We need to be precise with our biblical language. A miracle requires the suspension of natural laws or the suspension of spiritual natural laws. A near miss doesn't qualify. No laws were overruled by the writer of those laws, and therefore the grazed ear of Donald Trump, it was not a miracle. Now, others claim that God divinely intervened to spare his life.
God intervened today, not just on behalf of President Trump, but on behalf of our country.
Nope. Not trying to be the party pooper again, but God actually did not intervene on Saturday, July 13th, because God never intervenes. What? Of course he does. Actually, he doesn't. God never intervenes. Instead, God always sovereignly ordains all things. Ephesians 1:11, in him we have obtained an inheritance, having been predestined according to the purpose of him who works all things according to the counsel of his will. Daniel 4:35, all the inhabitants of the earth are accounted as nothing, and he does according to his will among the host of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand or say to him, what have you done? Isaiah 46:10, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times, things not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will accomplish all my purpose. In other words, Abraham Kuyper was right. There is not a single molecule in the universe over which Jesus Christ does not proclaim, mine. Now, if you're an atheist, I don't know why you're watching this video, but I'm glad you're here. You're thinking, aha! Gotcha! If God ordains all things according to the counsel of his will, that makes God responsible for evil. And to that, I would say, aha! And I'm not talking about the band from the 80s. It does not make God responsible for evil. Let's go back in time. 1689, the London Baptist Confession of Faith, chapter 3 of God's decree. God hath, because they spoke in King James English, God hath decreed in himself from all eternity by the most wise and holy counsel of his own will, freely and unchangeably, all things whatsoever comes to pass, yet so as thereby is God neither the author of sin, nor has he fellowship with sin, nor is violence offered to the will of you and me, nor yet is the liberty or contingency of, important phrase, second causes taken away, but rather established, in which appears his wisdom in disposing all things, and power and faithfulness in accomplishing his decree. Let's break that down. God ordains all things whatsoever that comes to pass. That is good, that is bad, that is sinful human evil, or divine calamities, everything. And he does that without doing violence to the will of the creature. In other words, God's predetermined everything, but you and I make genuine decisions for which we are responsible. Second, God ordains evil through secondary causes. In other words, the ultimate cause of all things is God. The proximate causes are used by God. Now, these can be human or not. They're secondary causes. They include things like demonic activity, Satan himself, lies of the world system, hardened hearts, false religions, and of course, our unglorified flesh. Those are proximate. Those are secondary causes. God's up here, they're there, and then you got yourself the efficient cause. It's the one who actually carries out the evil deed, having been influenced by the proximate cause, thereby leaving God blameless, even as he ordains evil. Therefore, God neither permits evil or causes evil. He ordains evil, and he uses sin sinlessly. And there's tons of biblical proof for this, but the ultimate proof that God ordains evil while remaining blameless and accomplishing great things is, you guessed it, the cross. Acts chapter 2. Peter is preaching like a nobody's business, and he states,
Men of Israel, listen to this. Jesus of Nazareth was a man accredited by God to you by miracles, wonders, and signs, which God did among you through him, as you yourselves know. This man was handed over to you by God's set purpose and foreknowledge, and you, with the help of wicked men, put him to death by nailing him to the cross.
There it is. In eternity past, God, the ultimate causer, predetermined Jesus would be crucified by the efficient cause, the hands of sinful men. So you say then, well, what was exactly the proximate, the secondary cause? Well, Satan was involved. Blind eyes, deaf ears, hardened hearts. Those who crucified Jesus were the efficient cause affected by the secondary/proximate cause, which the ultimate cause of God ordained. And that brings us back to our original question. If the sparing of Donald Trump's life, if that weren't a miracle or divine intervention, then what was it? The answer is super simple. God has determined a different death date for Donald Trump. It's as simple as that. Psalm 139. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. Job 14:5. Since his days are determined, and the number of his months is with you, and you have appointed his limits that he cannot pass. God is responsible for everyone who lives today and everyone who dies today. And the reason that Donald Trump did not die is because that was not his predetermined date. God didn't perform a miracle. God didn't intervene. God ordained that Donald Trump would live, albeit with a bit of a Van Gogh-like ear. Now, was there a special message God was trying to send, like, Donald Trump, that's my chosen candidate. Vote for him.
And on June 14th, 1946, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God gave us Trump. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, fix this country, work all day, fight the Marxists, eat supper, then go to the Oval Office and stay past midnight at a meeting of the heads of state. So God made Trump.
God doesn't speak cryptically. He communicates through his word, and we apply it rightly, knowing that God ordains all things. That means if Donald Trump becomes president again, it's because God predetermined he would win. Now, brace yourself for this. You're going to get the shivers from this. That goes for Kamala Harris. And you talk about evil. Discuss. Good evening, my fellow totally depraved Americans.